Hi everyone, and welcome to this BookTrust Represents live virtual author event with me, Rashmi, author of Good News, Why the World is Not as Bad as You Think. Now this book is illustrated by Adam Hayes, and it is a non-fiction book that looks at the facts about all of the biggest challenges that we face here on this planet of ours, but which also shines a spotlight on the facts about all of the progress that we've made already, all of the good things that are happening in the world, and all of the amazing people doing wonderful things to make our world a better place. So it's a positive, uplifting, and anxiety-boosting book, which I hope that you are going to love, or if you've read it already, that you have fallen in love with. So here's what I thought we'd do today. First, I'm going to tell you why I wrote this book, and then we're going to talk about the news. We'll talk about why the news tends to focus so much on the negative, why it's so overwhelmingly negative, why negative stories sell, and why they affect us the way that they do. After that, we'll talk about fake news and how you can sniff that out by becoming a fake news detective. Then we will talk about turning our attention to the positive, how we can seek out and hold on to all of the good things in the world, all of the good news in the world, because there is so much of it out there. I promise you, you only need to know where to look. At the end of all of that, you will have a chance to ask me your burning questions. And thank you so much to the schools who have sent some questions in already. I've got them here. And if you haven't sent questions in already, don't worry. Teachers and TAs and so on, you can pop those questions in the live chat, and what I'm going to do is jump into that at the end and catch as many as I can. Now, I've heard that some of you have already been working on mind maps and things, and that's so lovely to hear, and some of you have gotten stuck into the BookTrust resources and maybe sharing some good news stories, so very, very, very excited to hear that. And if you haven't, you can go and do that after the session. That's no problem at all. So let's get started. Okay, so why did I write Good News? Well, I started by thinking about this planet of ours, our one home planet, and all of the challenges that we face here. Things like the climate emergency, global health challenges, let's be honest, the mess that is politics, and things like inequality. And what I mean by that is things like the way there is such a humongous gap between the people who have more money than you can shake a stick at and the people who are struggling just to survive. Or things like the way some people are treated so badly just because of who they are, where they're from, what they look like, the way their bodies or brains might work, or who they love. So all of these challenges and so many more, and we hear about them all the time on the news, right? And the news is everywhere. So way, way back, if you wanted to find out what was going on in the world, you would have to wait for a town crier, a messenger on horseback, maybe a carrier pigeon. But today, the news is everywhere, and it is instant. Online, on TV, the radio, in print. And because of social media, one piece of news can whiz its way all around the world faster than you can say, "Bob's your uncle." Now, the news is important, don't get me wrong. We need to know what's happening in the world, including the bad things. But what tends to happen with the news is it tends to be so overwhelmingly focused on the negative. So we're hearing all of these negative stories, and we're not getting that balance of those good stories, of the good things that are happening in the world and the good people who are doing them. And what that means is we can end up feeling really weighed down by it. You might have noticed this with the grown-ups in your life. You might find that they are feeling down, they're getting really stressed out, maybe they're worried about the future, and maybe you've worried too, or maybe you're wondering whether you should be worrying about the future. And if you've been feeling any of these things, you are not alone. I have visited so many schools where so many people share that these worries have been getting them down. You're absolutely not alone. And I thought about all of this, and I said, listen, I've got to go out and find the hope. There must be reasons to be hopeful about our future. In fact, do one thing for me, okay? Hands up if you believe in a brighter, better future. Hands up if you believe we've got reasons to be hopeful. Go on, hands. I want to see those. Actually, I want to see those hands up, but I'm not going to see them because actually I'm in a studio and all I can see is this lovely camera crew. But I hope that wherever you are, lots and lots of hands just shot up around you because you, like me, believe that there is hope out there. So I went out to find it, okay? And what I did was I did a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of hunting, a lot of triple checking my facts, because this book is all about the facts. And that's my concentrating face, by the way. Again, I wish I was in the room with you, because I always ask people to show me their concentrating faces. I love seeing them. I don't know why. I just love seeing it. But I can't. So please give me your best concentrating face so the people around you can enjoy them at least. And this is my concentrating face. And that's how I was when I was doing all of this reading. That's not a real picture of my books, by the way. I would never treat books like that, but it is symbolic of the amount of research that goes into writing a book like this. So I dug around, I hunted, and the good news is, get it? The good news is I found so many good things that were happening in the world, so many good people in our world, from history, from today, enough to write an entire book, okay? That's the good news. And I discovered all sorts of things. Green cities, clean energy projects. I read about life-saving robots and life-saving toilets. Toilets save lives. People are shocked when I say this, but you've got to read my book to find out why. They do, they save lives. I read about all of these things, and I discovered so many amazing people who have been standing up for the rights of other people, standing up for our planet, and protecting our planet, including indigenous communities who have been doing this work, living in harmony with nature and fighting for our planet for generations and generations and generations. Just inspirational people. So I found all of this and I thought, why then, when you look at the news, is it all doom and gloom? Why do we just get the negative stories from the news, from most of the newspapers that we see and most of the news channels? And I thought about it and I realized something, right? The news is a story. It's a story. Do you see that? That's all it is. And then I thought, okay, what kinds of stories do you like? Oops, skipped ahead there. Think about the kinds of books, the kinds of films that you enjoy, the kinds of TV shows that you enjoy, and tell me something. Well, you can't tell me, but think about it. What kinds of stories do you enjoy? Do you like the ones where nothing happens? So, for example, character wakes up, character goes about their day, everything's fine, they go to sleep and do it all over again? Or do you like the books and the films and the TV shows where there's some danger, there's some peril, the character's facing a challenge, and there is that moment, do you know that moment? That darkness before the dawn where all hope is lost and you think they're just never gonna make it through. And then they rise like a phoenix. They overcome their challenges. What kinds of stories do you prefer? Well, most people would say that they prefer the exciting stories. They prefer stories and films and TV shows with a bit of danger, a bit of peril. That negativity is juicy. Sorry, but it's juicy. It's the kind of thing that grabs our attention, right? It keeps us turning the pages because we need to know what's going to happen next. Is this character going to make it through? It's the kind of thing that sticks in our heads. It's the kind of thing that we talk to other people about. We share it. We can't wait to tell someone. That is what happens when we get these negative stories. They are juicy. And it is the same with the news. The news is a story, and that's the stuff that grabs our attention, sticks in our mind, and makes us want to tell someone. So there's that. Now, there's another reason why these negative stories affect us the way that they do. And that is to do with our ancient coding. So this is the way that we have been wired. And sadly, we have been wired to worry. And that was actually really important for our survival, okay? This is not some random bit of coding. This was important. You imagine now, being like a really early human, okay? You're alone, you're in the jungle, and it's dark. Suddenly, you hear something. You think you saw something. What could it be? Maybe you stepped on a twig. Maybe it's just the rustle of the leaves in the wind. Maybe what you saw was just your own shadow. But what if it's not? What if there's danger? So it was way better for you to imagine the worst and worry and be on edge and alert to danger and have these things stick in your head and be amplified in your mind. Because it was better for you to be safe than sorry. What's the worst that could happen if you got it wrong? Okay, you got it wrong, there's no danger. Silly you, but at least you're alive. If the worst had happened and you had just been looking on the bright side, you might have been attacked or worse. So this ancient wiring is part of us. But because we're wired to worry, we are alert to danger. We are deeply affected by worries and troubles and perils that may lie ahead. Now, news companies know all of this, okay? Everything we've been talking about, how negative stories affect us, how they stick in our brains, how they're grippy, how they grab our attention, how they get us talking and sharing. And so that is what they feed us. Can you guess why they might be interested in giving us more of these stories? I'll give you one clue. It's a pretty big clue. Money. And I should know about money because I wrote a whole book about money, actually. Shameless plug for that one. But money motivates so many of these news companies to keep sharing with us these negative stories, even though they may not form the entire picture. So I'm not saying that these are all lies. We're going to come to lies in just a second. But what happens is, when you miss out the good stories, you miss out the hope, a lot of what we're getting is just what is wrong with the world. And there is a lot wrong with the world, don't get me wrong, and I talk about a lot of it in this book. I've always been honest with you about the fact that we have challenges. But when you miss the bigger picture, because the stories that are going to sell are those juicy negative ones, we're missing out on getting that balance. Does that make sense to you? I'm going to assume you're all nodding at me, but that makes sense to you, hopefully. Now, not all news companies, because there are some fantastic ones out there. The Week Junior, I promise I'm not getting paid by the Week Junior. These are some of my recent copies, is brilliant. The Week Junior has a balance of stories that, things that we need to know about the world that might not be so good, that might even be a little bit scary, but also those wonderful, positive stories, those feel-good stories that remind you that there is so much to be hopeful about. So I love the Week Junior. You might have it in your school, actually. I hope you do. And also things like CBBC News Round. You might have seen that at school or at home. Again, a balance of stories. And Blue Peter isn't strictly a news company, but I snuck it in there because they do tell you what's happening in the world around you, but they give you that balance of good stories as well. So we can see the bigger picture. We can see that there is still so much to be hopeful about. Do you see that? And I love Blue Peter, by the way. We love Blue Peter for many reasons, but also because, look what was on Blue Peter. Good news! Good News was on Blue Peter, on set, live, twice actually, because it was shortlisted for the Blue Peter Book Awards. So yeah, that was an amazing moment. But back to the point, Rashmi, back to the point, stick to the point. The big picture is what we're looking for. So remember, when you feel weighed down or you see grown-ups around you feeling quite weighed down by all that negativity in the news, it's probably because the kinds of news channels that they're following, the networks that they're following, might just be missing that big picture. Now, I said you need to watch out for lies as well. We don't call them lies, we call them fake news. You might have heard of this a lot lately. It's something you want to be watching out for, you want to be very careful about. And I know that you are very switched on people and we don't need to worry about that. But a lot of people, even grown-ups, are still fooled by it. Now, there are two types of fake news you want to watch out for. The first is disinformation. That is deliberate lies. When someone says something, shares something that is deliberately shared and they know that it's not true. So for example, if I came into your classroom and stole the cookies from the cookie jar and I told you that your teacher did it, that is disinformation, that is fake news. But then if you go around and tell everyone that your teacher did it because I said it and you just believed me, you didn't mean to lie about it, that's misinformation. But it's still bad because you're still spreading fake news. So it's something to watch out for. Now, there is a whole section in Good News all about how to become a fake news detective. And actually, I'm going to ask BookTrust if they can share. We've got a printout of that on the resources page, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But just to share a few of the things you want to be thinking about, you want to always stop, think, and look at the information that you are hearing, reading about. You want to question it, right? You want to think, who is this? Who's writing this? Who's saying this? What's their angle? What are they trying to make me feel? Because one thing you might notice with fake news is that very often with fake news, it's trying to get you to feel something really strongly. So if you notice that a piece of news is trying to evoke this very strong reaction in you, then probably it could be fake news because it's trying to get you stirred up, get you angry, get you really upset. So watch out for that. But also, equally, look at the article, see if they're quoting experts, are they quoting studies, do they look like they're backing stuff up with evidence, right? This is the lawyer in me coming back. But you'll be looking at this when you do subjects like history as well, because in history you're questioning, who is the source? Why are they saying this? Do they have evidence? What's going on here? So you want to be looking for those things. Another type of fake news that I really want you to be switched on and catch is where people use a photograph that could be a real photograph. It's not even been changed. And actually, that's a whole other story because some people can mess around with photographs so they're actually fake. Even photographs of people, so you think they were in places they weren't, doing things they weren't. There is a whole scary world out there of that. But I'm talking about real photographs where someone has stolen the photograph and slapped on a fake headline. And actually, I want you to have a go at doing this too, okay? So have a look at this photograph, and in your heads, have a think of what fake headline you could add to this that would go viral, just whiz its way around the world. You know, think about what you could make up about this situation. I mean, you don't know who these guys are, where they are, whether they're playing because they're family, or whether this is like something serious going down. You have no idea. You know, are these mutant creatures here? Something you could make something up. Can you see how easy it is? I bet ideas are firing off inside your brain. How easy it is. And just in one class, you could get so many different ideas for what this one real photo represents. And now imagine the juiciest idea, the juiciest fake headline whizzes its way all around the world, and people are sharing that without even questioning whether it's true, whether it's made up, and just believing it. It's because so many people will. This is what happens, and how easy it is to do that. It's amazing. So, you know, you could do this with any picture. Take a picture and just have a go. It's quite fascinating. What you need to do is be careful. Okay, you want to be careful. You want to uncover the facts. This is what I did when I was writing this book. I had to watch out. There were dead ends. There were misleading paths, let me tell you. And so with every fact in this book, we had to triple check it. We had to test it and be like, okay, who's saying this? Why are they saying this? Okay, is there another source that we can find to back this up? All of that process. But you want to be doing this with the things that you see and hear and read. If they're important, you want to really get down to the facts, especially before you share anything. So that's what I did with good news. And when I did that, like I said, I found so many good things that are happening in the world, so many pieces of good news that just very often don't get shared, that just don't rise to the surface. And it's such a shame because if people had the whole picture, maybe we would feel a little better about the world we live in. Maybe we would feel a little better about the people in the world that we live in. I have a whole section on humans here, okay? Because people have said some bad stuff about humans, about how we're at nature quite selfish and we don't want to help other people. But studies show that actually in moments of tragedy and disaster, most of us actually do think about others and want to help others, right? It's an amazing thing. We have empathy. We can put ourselves in other people's shoes and really understand what it is that they feel and what it is that they need. We're creative, we're problem solvers, and that has helped us overcome so many challenges in history. So why shouldn't it help us overcome the greatest challenges that we face today? That amazing combination of kindness and creativity and empathy, it's incredible. So I found all of these things. And what I wanted to really say with this book is don't forget the good stuff. This is it, right? Don't forget the good stuff. Look for those green shoots. Look for those good news stories. And some of you have been doing this mind map. This is my unfinished one. But you can see my finished one here. Hope you can see that. But what I did was I just started brainstorming things that I love, things that make me happy. You know, I've got all sorts of things here. Mangoes, like literally goes to mangoes, hip hop beats, monsoon, rain, heroes, like people that I look up to, just things that make me feel good about the world and things that make me feel good about life. And when you do this, I know some of you have done it. I hope you enjoyed it. I do this again and again, by the way. Sometimes I add to it, and sometimes I just do it when I'm feeling down and in need of a bit of a mood lift. Now, of course, when you're feeling really down, you want to be reaching out for help. When you're just a little bit down, you feel yourself headed in that direction, you're losing a bit of hope about the world, things maybe not going so well in life, this is such a great mood lift to bring you back to all of the good stuff, so do have a go at that. And also in the BookTrust resources, there's a little thing where you can write your own good news story. I've found loads, but you'll find lots in your life, in your community, in your school, in your area, or something in the world about something that you like. Whether you like gaming, find a good news story. I've got Gamer Grandma in here. I love her to bits. What an amazing story. Find those good news stories and share them. Let's spread that positivity. Let's get back to the bigger picture. Let's spread some hope together. And speaking of hope, I'm going to end, because I've done a lot of talking, with a quote. And this is from Christopher Reeve, who was the actor that played Superman in the old movies. And he says this: "Once we choose hope, everything is possible." So I love that. So that is good news. That is a cheeky image of all of my books, because why not? That's what I write. Okay, so let's dive into some questions. I'm going to start with these ones that I have here. I always wanted to be on TV with a jar, so this is like me living my dreams here, guys. So let's see what we've got. All right. St. Margaret Mary's RC Primary ask, what are the similarities and differences between being a lawyer and an author? Wow. This is a great question. So many, actually, because the kind of law that I did, corporate law in the city, working really long hours. I'm still working really long hours, actually, but with flexibility. So that's a difference. I get to control my time. I get to spend time with schools. Big difference. I didn't do that, and I love hearing from readers. I get to be more creative. But the similarities are interesting. It's hard work. There's a lot of editing. With law, it was the same. I had to process vast amounts of information. People think lawyers just know everything, but they don't know everything. They know where to look. And that's what I do as a nonfiction writer. I know where to find things, and I know how to test a source to see if it's a good source. And that's the kind of thing you're doing as a lawyer, testing the evidence, testing the source, getting to the facts, all of that. So there are a lot of similarities, but some key differences. And I gotta say, I loved my job as a lawyer, so if you want to be a lawyer, great idea. I love it. But I'm also really living my best life as an author, so if you want to do that, go for it. Okay, I'm going to be faster with these questions now. That was too slow, wasn't it? Chingford, CFE School, London asks, what was the most interesting thing you discovered whilst researching your book? I loved hearing about these green cities that are popping up everywhere, because climate change being one of the biggest challenges we face, I think seeing the greenification of our world is going to be one big thing that you and I are going to enjoy over the next decades or however long. So I was very excited to see the innovations that are happening there. Okay, Year 6, Newminster Middle School. Why do you think reading is so important in school? I had the pleasure of being a World Book Day author this year, making a World Book Day book. So I saw some of their research, and they found that reading for pleasure is the biggest indicator of a child's success in life. I'm going to say it again. Reading for pleasure is the biggest indicator of success later in life. So you read at school, you are set. But also reading brings so much joy. I've got a shiver down my spine when I say it, because I mean it. It brings so much joy, comfort. It encourages curiosity. It will make you the best version of yourself reading. It's wonderful. Okay, White House Primary School, North Shields, Tyne and Wear. How did you get your first book published? I actually entered a competition with Penguin Random House, with Puffin, and I never thought I'd get through because I was really shy about my writing, but they loved my story. I wrote a book about a T-Rex who learns how to read and becomes the Prime Minister, which at the moment I think would be an amazing thing, but I won the competition along with 10 other writers, and I got published. So, enter competitions. St. Margaret Mary's RC Primary School, Moston. Why do you think it's important for children to see themselves represented positively in books? I didn't get that as much when I was growing up. I didn't see people like me in books, even non-fiction books. And that really hurts, because non-fiction is about the real world. How can you not reflect the whole real world in books? But it's important for everyone to see positive representations of children of all backgrounds, of all, all kinds of children, because not just to see yourself. Of course you want to see yourself on the page. You want to feel included and seen and valued, but it's important for other people to see that every child is capable of so much. Every child can be the hero of their own story. So I think we need to see all children doing great things. And I hope you get to see that much more than I do. You do, I know, because I've read books today and they are amazing for diversity. And yeah, they reflect the world that we live in. Farringdon Community Academy Northeast, what do you think are the most important elements of good writing? Oh my gosh, you're challenging me here. I think good writing is memorable, it grips you, it's clear, it doesn't have to be fancy. Maybe that's controversial. I don't think good writing needs to be fancy. I think it needs to be crisp. I think the person who reads it needs to get it, and it needs to move them in some way. And that might just be that it makes them smile, it makes them laugh, it makes them think, or it makes them dream. It does something. Okay. Rivers Primary Academy Walsall, what gave you the inspiration to write the book Good News? So I just wanted to spread some hope in the world is the quick answer to that. I really wanted to do that. I wrote it for you. I really, really did. I had you, the reader, in my mind throughout writing that book because I wrote it in lockdown, which was a really difficult time actually, but I just had you in my mind. Is that cheesy? I'm cheesy, so there you go. Leafield Primary School, Uppingham, Rutland. Do you ever find yourself stuck for ideas in the middle of writing a book? Yes, I do, so many times. But you know what I do to counter that? I'm a planner. So I make plans, and that way I have a map already, so I don't have to get as stuck as if I didn't have a plan. So if you ever find that, maybe you'll like planning too. Okay. Holt Schools, Lozells, Birmingham. What inspired you to write a book about positive events and issues in the world from year 7? I saw that there was so much negativity in the world, and I was like, I'm going to do my bit, my little thing. I mean, I don't know how many people will read this book, but what can I do to help? You know, you have that feeling sometimes, like, what can I do? And for me, I'm a writer, so I was like, I could do this. I can put some hope and positivity into the world, and I can hope that readers will find it, and then I can hope that some of you will feel better because of it and feel more hopeful because of it. So that's why I did. William Cobbett, Primary Farnham, Surrey, ask, have you ever wanted to be an entrepreneur yourself? I love it. I have, yes, and I did have a little stint as an entrepreneur. But do you know something? I'm an entrepreneur today, so people don't realize this about writers, but we're running our own business. I work with different publishers, I do events, that's, one of the things that I do as an author. But all of this is because writing is my love, okay? It's my passion, but it's also my job, it's my work, and it's my business as an entrepreneur. So absolutely, it was my dream, and I'm living it now, which is cool. The Swain Park School, Rayleigh, Essex, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce all of these places and names. Hannah, year 7, asks, while researching for this book, what piece of information surprised you the most and why? So this sort of surprised me. I knew that Indigenous communities in the world did a lot for nature, and I knew they've been standing up for our planet way longer than the newer activists today. But I didn't know just how much biodiversity they cared for. So get this. They account for 5% of the world population, okay, Indigenous people. But the land that they care for is home to 80% of the world's biodiversity. So when we talk about them living in harmony with nature and caring for it, they are caring for 80% of our biodiversity, when they are just 5% of the population. And that statistic really, really surprised me, inspired me, and showed me how important it is to get those stories out. Because we don't hear enough about them. Okay, 6F, Newminster Middle School. What is your favorite memory from primary school? Oh, you're taking me back. I don't know. I want to give you a really good answer, but the only thing I can think of right now, because we've been talking about books, is how when I was in nursery, we had these huge, I'm going to say huge because I was little, but they felt like monstrously huge books, picture books, and they just made these mega versions of them. And that was my first feeling of like, wow, books are a big deal. Because they were literally a big deal. They were twice my size or something from what I remember. Maybe they weren't in my head, that's how big they were. And I was really wowed by it all. So I remember that. Also, school puddings. Do you get school puddings? I miss school puddings. I really like them. Don't complain about them, okay? I love school puddings. Okay, Lode Heath School, Solihull, West Midlands. What is your one top tip to set us on the journey to become successful writers? If you're only going to give me one, then I'm going to say read, read, and read, because reading lots, reading widely, reading all kinds of books, fiction, non-fiction, read picture books. Please promise me you will never feel too old for picture books. I read them as adults. Read everything, because if you read widely and fiercely, your writing will just get better. It can't not get better. But if you're going to let me have one more, a bonus, that is to never let your self-doubt stop you from writing or from finishing a story, a poem, a play, a piece of non-fiction writing, because self-doubt has stopped so many writers. And what I mean by that is not feeling you're good enough, comparing to other people. I promise you my first draft of everything is rubbish. I'm going to admit that on live stream for you, but I am a terrible writer in my first draft. And I have help to get better and better and get the words good enough to turn into a book like this. So if I can do it, I promise you can. So read lots and never let your self-doubt get in the way. Okay, I'm going to dip into the live stream now to have a look at the chat. If we have time. Do we have time? What have I done with timing? Can't actually see the live chat here. I don't know what's happening. I'm really sorry. So there's always something awkward that happens with tech. So what I'm doing now is asking the crew why I can't see the live chat. And so I can't see your questions. So we're going to style this out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Look at that, see? Mistakes happen. I've been really coming to terms with making mistakes at the moment. It's hilarious, but like, I'm really getting good at being okay with something going wrong and then just carrying on, because we do that, right? That's what we have to do. Wow, there are lots of questions. Okay, I've got money, money, money. Okay, you guys like money. Nice to know. And then I'm seeing zombie monkeys, I probably shouldn't read all these out. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to catch as many of these as I can, okay? But I'm really sorry if I don't get to your question. It's not personal. There's a lot in here. Okay, I can see, do you have any other hobbies? That's from Warden Park Secondary. Yes, I do. And I put a lot of them on my good things map. Like, I love to dance. Like, not professionally, but just like, I just love to dance around my house. I love art and messing about with paints. I love listening to music and singing along really, really loudly and sometimes really badly in the car. I love travel, seeing different places. I love meeting new people. I'm actually quite shy when I meet new people, but I enjoy it. Does that make any sense? Do some of you like that as well? Where like you really enjoy it, but it's also like, ah. So yeah, I have quite a few hobbies. Oh no, it has locked. I'm going to call BookTrust back to help me get back into the live chat, and this time I'm going to keep touching it. I'm so sorry. This is great. Okay, all right. This time I'll keep it live. Okay, do you have any books that you wrote but didn't get published? Again, Warden Park Secondary, yes, this happens a lot to writers. So you try to get a book published, but actually it doesn't work. Maybe it's not the right time. So sometimes with books, it's like you need to put it back in the drawer and you need to submit it later on. Or maybe it needs some polishing. Maybe I need like a brainwave to just make it good enough to send out to publishers. So yes, that absolutely happens. Another question about what you do for fun. Yeah, lots of things, music, dancing, all of that. What's your favorite book that you never released? I don't know if I should say this, but as you guys bothered to come here and join me and watch this, I'm going to tell you a secret. I really wanted to write a book about mythology, and yeah, I never got it published. But who knows? Like, never say never, right? Because you never know. Might be able to do it. I love myths and legends, so one day. Oh, this one caught my eye. Do you ever get mean comments with a sad face? Yep, the sad face is very much needed because as writers, you're putting your work out there. And the fact is, some people will love it. And I'm really lucky that a lot of people love my work. But there will be some people who don't love it. And there will be, sadly, some people who will say mean things. And maybe you found this too when you write something and you're excited and you share it. Maybe some people say great things and maybe one person says something not so great. Have you had that before, any of you? So that happens to writers all the time. And I wanted to talk about it actually because it can really crush you. But the thing is, you've got to notice your brain's going to do this thing where you're going to hold on. You know it. You're going to hold on to the one mean thing someone said and forget all of the good things. And what I'm really working on is trying to remember all of the good things and the fact that not everyone is going to love your art, because it's art at the end of the day. People have different tastes. And what I try to remember, all of the amazing comments I've had and all of the people who say that these books have changed their life in some way or made a difference to them, or even just made them laugh, because that sometimes is my absolute goal. So I do get mean comments, and it's fine. But you don't make mean comments about me, okay? That's not an invitation to do it. I'm just saying it happens to people. Then we've got, has there ever been a setback in your writing career, and how did you get over it? So I don't think so, but I haven't been writing that long, okay? So I've only been published for 2.5 years. I have a lot of books out. I've been very, very lucky that doors have opened for me. I've met some great people who have welcomed me in and supported me. But I know that at any time that could change. And so I'm grateful for where I am. And I see writers who say that, there are ups and there are downs. And I've had little ups and downs. I've had books that I really love, I thought a publisher's going to love, and they've said, sorry, we just don't think it's going to sell enough. You're going to have to put that in the drawer. So I'd call that a setback. The thing is, it happens with writing. You kind of get used to it, and you get used to saying, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to move on and I'm going to focus on the next thing that I can do. So setbacks, absolutely. What age of people are your books aimed at? A range. So I write picture books that are enjoyed from tiny little babies who are read to kind of 3, 5, 6, 7-year-olds and up, remember, because I told you you're never too old for picture books. This one, we say 9+, but then even much, much older children and even grown-ups have read this book. And the same with Cash, so a real range. What is your favorite book? I can never be asked that question, okay? Just so you know, you can't go around asking authors questions like that because we love so many books. But lately, I've really loved Elle McNichol's A Kind of Spark. I've loved Loki, A Bad God's Guide to Being Good, and Otherland by Louise Stoll. I have loved, what else have I loved? There's a great nonfiction book called, it's popped out of my head. There's a great nonfiction book called The Humans, and The History of Everywhere. Those big nonfiction books all about history and ancient civilizations. I've really loved those. What's your favorite book that you wrote? Ooh, asking me to pick a favorite out of my... I can't actually do that because I didn't make these books alone as well. So you have to remember, I work with illustrators, editors, all sorts of people in production, and we make these books as a team. So if I pick a favorite, I feel like I'm not being a good team member to all the other people. So I can't really say that. They're all special to me in their own ways. If you had asked me the hardest book I've ever written, it's this one, okay? Because it was tough topics and a lot of facts. So I'm proud that I wrote that one. But I couldn't say it's my favorite. They're all favorites for different things, How long does it take to make a book? A long time. And the making doesn't just include my writing. So a book like this took a lot of time to research, and things were changing. It was a rapidly changing world, and I had to go quite deep into some very difficult academic papers and research papers and all of this. So this one took me maybe 6 months, 7 months to write and research and edit, maybe longer actually. And then I think it takes another 6 months to a year to illustrate and just finalize, because there's always stuff that you're updating as the news changes and all of this. Picture books can take 2 years to make because the artwork is so detailed. And a lot of my picture books, or maybe all of my picture books, print in China. So there's this whole lead time where it needs to be shipped back from China. So there's a lot that goes into making books. What inspired you to become a writer? I just always loved stories, and I always loved, I used to write poems and plays when I was little, but I never really believed in myself, and I also never really saw names like mine on the spines of books. I didn't think people like me became authors. And it's only when I grew up and I saw this competition from Penguin Random House that I saw that they were looking for people like me who don't normally see themselves in books, or people who don't normally get to be authors. And I applied, and the rest, as they say, is history. What inspires me, this is another one from Warden Park Secondary. Warden Park, you are on it today. I'm going to scroll down because I want to give some other people a chance. But yeah, what inspires me, what did I say? I can't remember what I said now. What inspired you to become a writer? I think we've kind of covered that. Yeah, just loving books. Scrolling. Okay, Rivers Primary Academy, Walsall. Would you like to come to our school and work with our pupils? I'm always ready to come to schools that are welcoming to me. Do you ever regret being an author? No, never actually. Not for 1 second. It's the best thing I've ever done. What else have we got? How do you find time to write a story? With great difficulty, because when I'm eventing and doing all of this and talking about the books, I can't actually be writing the books. So it takes a lot of focus, and I have to really be like, I want to get this story written. Like at the moment, I'm trying. I really want to write this like wimpy kid, Tom Gates style funny story with a British Asian kid. But I need to sit down on the chair and write it. Hands up if you have trouble finishing stories. I'm gonna put my hand up. We need to finish those stories. I need to finish that story. What's called Farringdon Community Academy. What gave you the motivation to write your books when you run out of ideas? Do you know something? I don't run out of ideas. That's not my problem. I have a notebook packed with ideas. I run out of the focus to sit down and just write. And what gets in my way is the fact that I don't believe in myself. If I'm having a day where I'm like, someone else would do this better. Should I do it? Is it going to be okay? And remember, I told you my first drafts are terrible. So it's really hard for me to write a first draft because I know it's going to be terrible. But once I do it, I know I can make it better and I love it and I get into it. And then an editor loves it and it's going to be a book and it's amazing. So what I do is I try to remember my books. I look at this. I know it sounds terrible, but I do. I look at this book and I'm like, Rashmi, you did it. You've done it before. You've been here before where you doubted yourself and you wrote a terrible first draft. And then you made it into this book, which was on Blue Peter twice. So you can do this. And that's how I get the motivation. I look for other schools here. Okay, so Margaret Mary's RC Primary in New Moston are asking, do you always look back fondly on the books you have written? Yes, I do. I actually really do, because there's such a labor of love. If you know what that means, it's just we worked so hard. Not just me, I say we, because like the illustrator, the editor, the art director, everybody in the publisher who was looking at that book. It's like this thing that we made together. You know, when you make something, it never changes. Like in primary school, when I made something, when I was in nursery reception, it was like, I made that. But I still get that feeling now as like a full grown up where I'm like, I made that, we made that. So no, I still get that glow and I love it. Rivers Primary Academy asking, what is your favorite part of being an author? Holding a book in my hand for the first time is definitely up there. But actually, the thing that surprised me, I didn't know would affect me as much as it does, is hearing from readers. Because when I write this and it's a book and it's on a shelf or it's won an award, like it's cool, it's really cool. But it touches me in my heart when a reader says that I read your book and it made me feel this, or I read your book and I've read it again and I've kept it on my bookshelf, or I keep borrowing it from the library, or whatever it is. Those comments from readers like you that just blow me away and feel like I've got the best job in the world. So that's the best thing for me, hearing from you. Okay, I'm getting a warning here. I'm going to tell you this. I've got 2 minutes left. So I'm going to, let me see. Let me find something juicy, because we said you like juicy things. You've been really kind to me, actually. These are good questions. They're not, you're not trying to trip me up or anything. So we have, who is your favorite author or person? So many, and I've given you some people that I love reading. I'm going to give you a random recommendation because it's popped into my brain and I feel like I'm telling everyone about her at the moment. Dash Roberts, for like mystery sci-fi with a splash of funny. She writes the Sticky Pines series, starting with The Big Wolf Conspiracy, and it's just so good. I want everyone to hear about it. And also Fight Back by A.M. Dasu, because a lot in this book is about kind of standing up and kind of speaking out and taking action. And Fight Back does all of that, and it's an incredible book. So if you're looking for a read that is gripping and also very in sync with good news, have a look at that book. And also everyone that BookTrust Represents puts up for these events. The lineup is incredible, and no one forced me to say that. I can say they're looking at me like, why you said that? I did. No one told me to say that. I mean it 100%. An incredible lineup, so always have a look at BookTrust Represents for book and author recommendations. I got my 1-minute warning, so I don't think I'm going to be able to answer more than one. As a child, I'm going to do this one. As a child, Rivers Primary Academy, what did you aspire to be? Not a writer. I aspired to be an inventor, creating funky, amazing, cool things. But actually, in a way, I feel like I've achieved that dream, just not the way I thought I would. I do create things, but I create books, I create stories, and I create worlds. Okay, I think that's a good question to end on. I'm going to end on that and leave that there before I break it. And I'm just going to say thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time answering your questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get through all of them. I hope you found that useful and fun. Go and have a look at the resources. Have a go at the mind maps. I love doing it. Like, this is so much fun, you guys. Have a go at it. And if you can, come up with some good news stories to share. We'd love to see them. Share them. Ask your teachers to share them with us at BookTrust. It's at BookTrust on Twitter, and I'm at Rashmi Writing as well. So tag us and I will amplify. I'm speeding up because I know they're going to cut me off the live stream. What else do I want to say to you? Teachers and TAs, there will be a link in the live chat for you to give some feedback. So you can pop that in there. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and have a fantastic rest of the day and week. Happy reading.